The sun burned fiercely over the kingdom of Egypt, its golden light stretching across the vast deserts and winding rivers. It was a land shaped by gods, ruled by their wisdom, and bound by the unbreakable balance of Ma'at, order and harmony. And yet, beneath the brilliance of Ra's eternal gaze, shadows of discontent festered. Mankind, once obedient and reverent, had grown restless. Whispers slithered through the streets like serpents, words of defiance carried on the wind. They murmured that Ra had grown weak, that his reign had lasted too long. Some dared to suggest that the gods no longer deserved their worship, that men could carve their own destinies. Ra, the great sun god, the father of creation, watched from his celestial throne with sorrow and fury. He had given mankind light, warmth, and life. He had driven back the chaos of the void and placed the stars in the heavens. And this was their gratitude. His anger churned like a storm trapped beneath his golden skin. His very essence flared, causing the midday sun to burn hotter than ever before. The waters of the Nile shrank under its might. The land itself seemed to wither in his rage. He would not allow this blasphemy to go unanswered. Summoning his divine council, Ra's voice echoed through the heavens. Gods and goddesses gathered in his grand court, their radiant forms illuminating the celestial hall. Osiris, the wise judge of the dead, Thoth, keeper of wisdom, and Bastet, the fierce protector, all stood before him. The mortals have forgotten their place, Ra thundered, his voice like the roar of 1,000 lions. They turn against us, against the order we have built. If they do not fear the gods, then let them taste our wrath. Some gods whispered of mercy, of teaching mortals a lesson through patience. But others, their pride wounded, demanded vengeance, and so Ra made his choice. He would unleash his divine fury upon them, not with fire from the heavens, nor with floods to drown their cities. No, he would send her, Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty, the bringer of joy, stepped forward. Her warm smile and kind eyes had soothed the hearts of mortals for ages. But Ra did not call upon her for her kindness. No, he would awaken something buried deep within her, a force few had ever seen. For Hathor had another face, one not of love, but of rage. And soon all of Egypt would tremble beneath it. The great hall of the gods shimmered with golden light, its towering pillars etched with the sacred symbols of creation. The gods stood in solemn silence, their radiant forms casting long shadows across the chamber. At the center of it all sat Ra, his fury like a burning star, his eyes smoldering with divine rage. Before him, the gods debated. Some, like Thoth, the wise and measured scribe of the heavens, urged restraint. Great Ra, he spoke, his voice smooth as the flowing Nile. Mankind is foolish, yes, but they are also fragile. They forget, they doubt, but they can be guided back to truth. Let wisdom, not wrath, be your tool. But others were not so merciful. Set, the untamed god of chaos and war, sneered. Wisdom? These mortals spit on your name, Ra. Let them be reminded of their place. Let them see what it means to anger the gods. His words slithered through the air like a venomous serpent. Ra listened to them all unmoved. His decision had already been made. He would not send storms. He would not unleash plagues. No, this betrayal demanded something greater. A force that would make mankind tremble. He turned his gaze to her. Hathor stood among the gods, a being of light and beauty, her eyes filled with warmth and joy. She had always been beloved, her presence bringing laughter to feasts and love to hearts. But there was something within her, something ancient, something waiting. Ra spoke, his voice final and unyielding. "Hathor, my beloved daughter, my eye upon the world, you shall be the instrument of my wrath. Go forth and punish those who have forgotten their gods." The room grew heavy with silence. The gods watched, some with unease, others with anticipation. Hathor did not question her father's will. She stepped forward, bowing her head, and then she changed. A great power surged through her, warping the air, twisting the warmth of love into the heat of bloodlust. Her soft features sharpened, her form growing larger, her golden skin darkening. Her delicate hands became massive paws, tipped with claws sharper than any mortal blade. Her eyes, once filled with kindness, burned red with unrelenting fury. Where once stood the goddess of love, now loomed Sekhmet, the lioness of war. A deep growl rumbled in her throat, low and dangerous. The god stepped back. Even Set, the bringer of storms, watched with wary eyes. Sekhmet exhaled, her breath hot like the desert wind before a sandstorm. The scent of blood filled her senses. Though none had been spilled yet, Ra raised his hand and pointed to the earth below. "Go," he commanded. "Show them the wrath of the gods." Sekhmet did not bow. She did not speak. She roared, a sound so powerful it shook the very foundations of the heavens. Then, with a mighty leap, she descended upon the mortal world, and the slaughter began. The sky darkened as Sekhmet descended, the wind howling like the cries of 1,000 souls. When her golden paws touched the earth, the ground trembled. The first to see her were the villagers of the outer settlements, humble farmers, traders, and craftsmen. They turned their eyes to the heavens, expecting the familiar warmth of Hathor, the goddess of love and joy. But what fell upon them was not love. It was death. With a roar that split the sky, Sekhmet leaped into the streets. Her massive lioness form moved with terrifying speed, claws slicing through the air. She swiped her paw, and an entire market stall was torn apart as if struck by a desert storm. The people screamed, but their cries were swallowed by the sound of tearing flesh and shattering bones. Sekhmet was relentless. She did not stop to judge innocence or guilt. She did not pause to consider mercy. The betrayal of the mortals had been declared, and now all were guilty. Blood soaked the sands. The Nile, the sacred lifeblood of Egypt, ran red. The riverside villages were reduced to silent ruins, bodies left in her wake like broken offerings to the gods. Warriors tried to stand against her, but their bronze swords shattered against her divine hide. She crushed them underfoot, their spears splintering like dry reeds. The gods above watched in uneasy silence. Even Set, the god of chaos, found no joy in this massacre. Osiris turned his head away, and Thoth, the keeper of wisdom, furrowed his brow in concern. This was not punishment. This was annihilation. Ra, from his throne in the heavens, began to feel the weight of his command. At first, he had been satisfied. The mortals had learned to fear the gods once more. But as the days passed, Sekhmet did not stop. Her hunger for blood grew. She relished the hunt, and the world burned. Entire cities fell. The once golden fields of grain, nourished by the Nile, were trampled beneath her wrath. The songs of temple priests, once filled with reverence, became wails of despair. The air stank of iron, the cries of the dying echoing across the deserts. No longer did Sekhmet kill for justice. Now she killed for pleasure. Ra knew, then, that he had made a grave mistake. He had not unleashed a weapon. He had birthed a monster. The gods gathered once more, and their voices were filled with urgency. "She will not stop, Father of the Sun," Thoth warned. "At this rate, there will be no mortals left to worship us."
Even Set, who had once demanded blood, now spoke with unease.
"She does not kill to restore order. She kills because she enjoys it."
Ra's heart, once filled with anger, now grew heavy with regret.
He had sent his eye to punish mankind, but now even the gods feared what she had become. They had to stop her. But there was no force in the heavens or the earth that could stand against Sekhmet's rage. She had become unstoppable, an unchained beast with no master. So if strength could not defeat her, perhaps deception could. Ra took a deep breath, his mind racing, and then, at last, he devised a plan, one that would save humanity, and perhaps save Hathor too. The world lay in silence. The winds carried the scent of blood, but no more screams filled the air. Where once there had been cities teeming with life, now only ruins stood, bathed in the light of Ra's setting sun. The Nile, once the sacred lifeblood of Egypt, still ran red. At the heart of this devastation lay Sekhmet, the lioness of war, her powerful body stretched across the sands. She had feasted on slaughter, her thirst unquenchable. But now she stirred, her golden eyes fluttering open, her mind clouded. She had drunk deeply from the river of blood, or so she thought. But what had touched her lips was not blood. It was the red beer, the clever deception of the gods. The moment the sweet liquid had passed her tongue, the fires of rage within her had dimmed, her claws, once eager for flesh, had fallen still. Her mighty roars had faded into silence, and now, as she rose to her feet, she felt different. The bloodlust was gone. Sekhmet blinked, confusion clouding her once murderous gaze. The thirst that had driven her to madness had vanished, replaced by a warmth she barely remembered. The haze of fury lifted, and as it did, the memories of her rampage came crashing down upon her. The screams, the torn bodies, the cities drowned in red. A deep sorrow welled up in her chest. What had she done? Her massive form trembled, and then, as the sun broke over the horizon, something miraculous happened. Her sharp claws retracted. Her great, muscular limbs softened. The crimson glow in her eyes faded, replaced by the warm golden light of the goddess she had once been. Sekhmet was no more. In her place stood Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and joy. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked upon the world she had nearly destroyed. She had been sent to punish mankind, but instead she had nearly erased them. She had been lost in rage, in blood, in power. But now she was found. From the heavens, Ra watched, his heart heavy yet relieved. The storm had passed. Hathor had returned, and with her, the world could begin to heal. But the gods would never forget the day love turned to wrath, and neither would mankind. The world did not return to peace overnight. The scars of Sekhmet's wrath remained. Empty villages, ruined temples, the whispers of those who had survived. But with the return of Hathor, there was hope. She walked among the people once more, though now their gazes were filled with both reverence and fear. She had once been their bringer of love, the goddess of music and joy. Yet they had seen her other face. They had witnessed the lioness within. And so, even as they worshipped her, they never forgot the lesson she had taught them. Ra, weary from all that had transpired, withdrew from the world. He would no longer walk among mortals as he once had. Instead, he ascended fully into the sky, his golden bark sailing across the heavens each day, forever watching but never touching the earth below. As for Sekhmet, she did not vanish entirely. The gods knew that the world would always need balance. Love alone could not rule. There would always be moments when strength was required, when wrath had its place. And so, Sekhmet remained a part of Hathor, not as a mindless force of destruction, but as a guardian, a protector of Ma'at, the cosmic order. And the people? They sang songs of Hathor once more, their voices rising in the temples, their feet dancing in celebration of the goddess who had returned to them. But in the quietest corners of the land, in the darkened chambers of the priests and the deepest sands of the desert, one truth remained unspoken. Hathor was love. Hathor was joy. But should the world ever forget the gods again, she would become Sekhmet once more.